I searched and searched for more manga titles to fit today's letter, but it was a struggle because apparently there is just one English translated shoujo that starts with the letter J. Hey there friends, I'm Laura A. Grace and I am a writer and reviewer here at Beneath the Tangles, and I'm so excited to be bringing another video in the ABCs of shoujo manga. It has been so much fun, even though I had to go consult some shoujo gurus to see, are there any titles that start with the letter J? And before I say one that was almost like an honorable mention, though I haven't read it yet, but I feel like it should still be technically mentioned because at least we have one other series that starts with the letter J. If you're not familiar with this series though, in a nutshell, each month basically I try to share a letter and share shoujo manga that fits that letter. We kicked off with the letter A and here we are now starting with the letter J, and I will say the honorable mention first. I thought this was a shoujo, but some friends reminded me like, no, this is actually a josei, and that is Josie the Tiger and the Fish. I have this manga on my shelf. It is way down there, right there. Really wanted to read it. I was gonna try and read it for this prompt, but I felt like if I read it beforehand that I would try and gush about it, but since it's a josei and not a shoujo, I didn't necessarily want to feature it. Like I said, I found at least one series that starts with the letter J, and I feel bad because I am pretty confident that I am saying the title of this wrong, but that is Juju. I'm not 100% sure how you would say that in Japanese, but that's how I kept saying it in my head, and I was like, hopefully that's right. But this is a 5-volume series. It is a little bit harder to find, but I did see that the volumes are in stock on Amazon. I checked this out from my library. I do have some thoughts on it. I tried reading all 5 volumes, but I could not super get into it. But let me tell you what this series is about. First, it is about our main girl. Her name is Takamichi. She is part of this family of hunters. They go and they slay demons. And when she's younger, her younger brother actually, something happens and he ends up dying, and it really emotionally scars her. She becomes very detached from people, very tundra, where she's very mean and rude more often than not. These 2 young guys come into her life. They are her familiars. Interestingly enough though, they actually turn into these little pups right here. They are half human and half demon, and so they come with her on her missions, or they're supposed to, because more often than not she doesn't bring them with her, but they are supposed to help come protect her. And so this first volume actually centers around them wanting to come with her to high school because she's in high school now and she is a very established demon hunter and just goes to high school, but her familiars also want to join her because even though they're technically, I think, like 3-year-olds in their pup form, they're teenage boys in their human form. So I, for the most part, actually did like volume 1. I did not appreciate though how nakedness was usually used as a form of humor more often than not in this series. I just really didn't feel like it was necessary. Like 1 or 2, I'm like, okay, whatever, but it was quite a few times because more often than not when these young guys are transforming from their pup form to their human form, they are naked and they do like to sit on top of her as if they were still in their puppy or their dog form. I didn't really necessarily appreciate that, and they weren't always very quick to get their clothes on. There's no nudity in this volume or anything like that, and I don't even think throughout the series because I did read volume 2 and I just was not as sold in with volume 2 and decided I'm just going to stay with volume 1 because like I said, overall I did enjoy it. The art style is absolutely amazing. It has like this gritty, well, I would say it's gritty, but she looks very pretty here. Her editor encouraged her originally to draw a male character that would be popular with girls, and so she actually ended up coming up with this young woman here who's very, like I said, very rough around the edges, trying to find like a really cool, this is a cool panel that I actually personally really liked. I really do enjoy how she can kick butt and look really cool. I didn't appreciate how rude she is to the young guys because she can be just really nasty and come across as super uncaring. But the great thing about this is even though she is really rude, and I feel like these pops should have just left her, to be honest, that was my personal opinion, she has some really great character development, and I do feel like that was one of my favorite parts of this volume is seeing she acts the way she does because of this emotional trauma and how realistic it made her character. Even if I didn't always appreciate her actions, she really does grow a lot. And even though I did did not enjoy volume 2 very much. Great parts actually about this volume specifically was, again, the character development, because you see a lot more interaction with Snow and Night, that's their names, and I really enjoyed that. It led back to Takamichi growing and as an individual, as well as growing in her relationship with these two. Snow and Night are so much fun. They were definitely something else I really enjoyed about this volume, because Snow is just so energetic and he's very different than Night, who is more of the studying type and he's very quiet. He's not very laid back, but may not always be the first to initiate in jumping in action. Now, if Takamichi's in danger or it looks like she's about to be in danger, yes, he will definitely initiate and go fight on her behalf. But I feel like Snow is just more wild in his personality, very easygoing, and just that bright personality that I absolutely love when characters are like that. So they make a really great duo. Their backstory is pretty sad, but I love seeing just their interactions. I'm trying to think of how to say it, because some of the more sadder, depressing moments, and I wouldn't say this is a depressing read, but some of the more harder and grittier moments definitely involve their backstories. But I just love seeing those moments in the sense of when we see him, Takamichi has a very much softness to her that she doesn't have in the present day as a high schooler. And going back to the art, because, oh, here we go, because I do not feel like I talked much about that as much as I want to anyway. I really loved it. I feel like there's just a uniqueness to this art style that it's probably more like you either like it or you don't, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know a great comparison for this manga. Originally, I thought of like Demon Slayer, but Tanjiro needs to be a tundra and Nezuko would need to be basically like a giant wolf, I guess you would say. That's the only thing I can sort of even remotely compare it to, and even then I don't feel it's the best. But there's so much action in this manga, which I also really appreciate, because I love my high school contemporary romances, but I really do enjoy when I get those rare gems or just those rare reads of where there's high stake action. There was no life or death situations, and there's definitely some cuteness. Like, look at Night, he's so cute. I was like, how could Takamichi ever be mean to him? But that was part, again, of her character growth. I'm not sure how these other 3 volumes are, though I do really like this cover. I am curious about who these 2 characters are, because they were not in the second volume. And it is interesting, if you sort of like a paranormal touch to your stories, this could be a great one to check out, because in volume 2, you have a vampire, you have, oh goodness, it is the creature that lives in the water, not a mermaid. Selkie, I think is what they are. They're like a mermaid, but they're the more dangerous one. There's a ghost that shows up in this volume, and you still have where our pups are half demon and half human. So they do have some things that go on, because when there is a full moon, it affects everybody's personality, including even Takamichi's, but it definitely affects Snow and Night the most. And Snow can be very different than his typical self. There is a werewolf in volume 1 as well. So if you do, I think, like that supernatural grittiness, but without it being overtly gory or violent, and you definitely don't want any nudity, even though there is, like I said, the nudity humor to this. But if you've read this series, definitely let me know. I only know, I think, like one person who has checked this out. I don't know if they enjoyed it or not, and one other person said they have it, but they haven't read it yet. So I would love to know, did you enjoy this series? Have you heard of it before? Does it sound interesting to you? Let me know below. Hopefully for the next letter, we'll have more diversity than just one series. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!